You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Hello and welcome to Talks Honest. You are tuned in to iLive Radio UK, changing the way you listen to radio. I'm your host, Miss Law, and this is a platform and an opportunity for you to discuss topics never spoken but often thought of. You can connect with us by contacting 0208 638 8503 or www.uk.iliveradio.com.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 What if we spoke honestly?
Today's subject is Chorea, and joining me on today's show is Cheryl Devonish. Welcome, Cheryl.
Hello, man. Hello, my dear.
Chorea is a movement disorder that causes involuntary, irregular, unpredictable muscle movements. Now, Cheryl Devonish has been suffering with this for quite some time. And I'm going to get you to introduce yourself.
Wow.
And tell us a bit about your background and a bit of history about yourself before we delve into.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It.
Oh, well, lovely. Thanks for having me on the show. Nice to get a chance to actually talk about this because I haven't ever spoken about it publicly.
Yeah.
Well, my background was, I suppose, I grew up in Tottenham, just a normal little girl, went into sort of secondary school, went to Northumberland Park, was, I suppose, fairly popular because I tried to be a nice girl. So I don't think I always was, but you try. So I kind of got on with everybody, I'll be honest. Left school, was very ambitious and basically decided that I didn't want to be stereotyped. So I remember the careers lady going on about jobs, and I remember all she was talking about was like working in the social security and the job centre, and I thought, no way. I ended up writing letters off to all these different places. I didn't even know where I was writing.
Yeah.
Just know those days you could just send a letter. Ended up getting a job it was then Midland Bank, yeah? So I was 17 years old, and then I got a job working in Midland Bank in Holborn Circus. So it was quite prestigious to be working in a bank at 17 when everybody else was debating about sixth form or whatever.
Yeah.
So I started working pretty early and worked straight from 17 to what age? To 2015. I think
wow.
I was like, yeah, never stopped, never got made redundant. I literally, the only time I had a break was on holiday for 2 weeks.
Oh, awesome.
I literally worked from 17 years old to I think 44, I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
Mad.
Awesome.
Crazy, and then got made redundant. But I worked, I loved it. I worked, started off as a normal cashier.
Yeah.
When I worked at Midland, my aim was to get on the counter to serve customers. And when I got on the counter, I hated it because customers were awful. But then that was the whole banking experience. And then worked my way up, got into investment banking.
Yeah. And
literally worked my way up the ladder. When I left the city in 2015, I was an equity operation manager. So I had a little team. I loved the job, but it was a lot of pressure. I was under a lot of pressure there. Yeah. I was used to it. That's what we were used to. We were used to sometimes early days. I mean, my 20s were spent doing 12-hour working days, yeah?
Yeah.
But that was standard stuff. I was used to being under pressure. It's just what I knew, yeah? So I loved it. I buzzed off of it. So that was it. I had a good, strong career in the city.
Okay, awesome. So you've been very active over your employment years.
Yeah, and partying I was doing everything. I mean, I was a single mum in between that. I did have a daughter. Sorry, I forgot that important bit, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I had my child, I was 30 years old because I had been with my daughter's dad for a long time. But I was really like, as I said, I always didn't want to fit into the mold. So I refused to have a child before I was married.
Yeah.
But finally gave up at 30. Yeah. So I had her at 30 because I thought I can't wait anymore.
You gave in.
No, I just thought, I didn't even give in. I remember deciding to myself, I'm ready to be a mum.
Okay.
It weren't about him. I decided, right, I'm ready to be a mum. And I remember the conversation in my head was terrible because I said, whether I'm with him or not, I know I can do it on my own. That's what I thought. That's bad.
Yeah.
Which I knew. And I'll be honest with you, 1 year later, my daughter was 1 and we'd broken up.
Oh, wow.
We'd actually been together 15 years.
Yeah.
Because he was my little boyfriend at school. So we'd been together 15. Imagine I had her at 30. And by 31, we were finished.
Okay.
So maybe I stuck it.
So tell me, at what point this journey with Chorea actually begin? And not the knowing, the not knowing that you had Chorea.
Well, not knowing, well, something was wrong. I got married I think 2008, and in 2013 something was wrong with me. I mean, we did have a bit of turbulence in the marriage, so we were arguing a lot. But I'll be honest with you, my life was stressful anyway, so to me, it was just something else added on, but no big deal because I dealt with loads of things anyway. So I was just carrying on. You know, as you do, you're just carrying on. But then I remember I went through a particularly stressful stage, about 3 or 4 months, and the relationship was pretty stressful.
Okay.
And I think, then suddenly by the end of June, I just didn't feel right. I didn't feel right, and we were booked we were going to Barbados in July. So I remember end of June, I felt awful. And then I started really worrying because I kept feeling sick. I kept feeling sick and my balance was going a bit funny. Okay. So I was convinced I had ear infection.
Right.
So I went and got that checked out. We had a company doctor at work. I went to the company doctor because I thought if I got ear infection, I'd get on the plane. You know, everyone was saying it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
But he was saying you're clear. I had that checked about 2 or 3 times. Because of the balance, I was convinced but it wasn't an infection. So I went to Barbados anyway. But
and what year was this that you actually felt that?
2013. That was June. So we went on holiday July 2013. Right. And I'll be honest with you, I was on holiday but just not feeling right. I felt sick the whole time, So we were going to things. I remember I used to have a hire car. I would get in the car, we'd make it to the bank, because you go to Caribbean, you spend ages in the stupid bank anyway. So we'd get to the bank, we'd waiting for ages and all of that, and then I'd have to go back to the hotel because I just couldn't go. I felt sick, so
So talk us through that whole process, because obviously people who haven't got Chorea, people who are suffering with Chorea and don't know, haven't experienced certain things that you have, need to probably have a little bit clearer understanding of exactly what those things were for you and how they affected you at that time.
Well, I've had to make a list of the symptoms, and it literally is really filling an A4 page. So these are symptoms
that you've experienced, or
remember, I just felt sick. So nobody knew what that was. It was just feeling sick. So the sickness then turned to, obviously, it was sickness. I've got to look myself because it's long, right? So
fine.
I kept feeling sick, and then so this is now I've come back from Barbados. I just felt weird out there.
Okay.
Because I even remember on the plane, I sat with the air hostess most of the flight because I felt that sick. I get travel sickness, but I've never been that bad. When I got back home to the UK, I thought, right, I've got to get this sorted out. Obviously, I thought, I don't know what it was. Nobody knew. I felt odd. I didn't feel right. So then the sickness, I used to be pretty fit. And I used to do yoga one day of the week, lunchtimes. I used to run and I used to do boxing. Right. I noticed during yoga, because obviously it's about balance, that I couldn't do the poses anymore. My back, I kept wobbling. I was like, what's going on? I've been doing yoga for 6 months. Suddenly now I can't do, what's it called? The tree. I couldn't put my leg up.
Your balance was out.
Balance was gone, yeah. So I was like, you know, I noticed it, but I still don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And my left wrist was really hurting. Like, I remember trying to do like that downward dog, and my wrist was really hurting. I couldn't do it. I had to keep stopping. So I'm like, what's going on? You know, again, these are the two minor things that started, yeah?
Okay.
So balance dodgy, again, I'm still thinking maybe ear infection, not really connecting the wrist and the balance together, but it's happening. So I've started watching that now. I think I started wearing like a thing on my wrist, you know, like a support.
Okay.
That wasn't helping. Then what happened next? God, I started getting this like a butterfly, you know, like a fluttering feel.
Okay.
I can't explain it, but it felt, actually I used to call it like a crawling feel. I used to get a crawling feel at the back of my head, yeah?
Okay.
Which was like really weird, like make you shiver, you know, like.
Okay.
So remember now, I'm going to the doctors, and I think by now I'd started going, because I was checking the ear out, because I kept feeling sick, my wrist is hurting, I started to go to my GP.
Right.
Obviously, he's like, nothing could be found. I think they did like little blood tests, nothing. Okay, cool. Yeah, I carry on.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting fluttering feeling in my head, like this crawling feeling at the back of my head. And then it was down the side of my face as well. But no one could see anything. So I could feel it, but no one can see it.
Right.
And that's the worst thing. When your symptoms aren't out.
Visible, yeah.
Because then you're now convincing people of what you're feeling inside. And it's really difficult because everyone's looking at you like you're mad. So now I've got a bad wrist, I've got balance gone, and I've got this feeling that I can feel it, no one can see it, obviously. So I'm now saying to people, something's not right, I feel odd, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is going on and on. Now this is, remember, the first symptoms began in June. This continues now, on and on for months now. We're talking about a while. Then the next symptoms I get, so when that feeling in the face, it felt like, and I kept saying to people, can you see it? Because it literally felt like my eyes were fluttering, yeah? Like,
right, okay, I
can't explain it. It almost felt like a drag. It was dragging, yeah?
Okay.
But people were saying to me they can't see anything.
Couldn't see anything. It was just you feeling it, okay.
Yeah, and then the next thing, my back, on the left side, I kept having this feeling like someone was, like it was like a punch in my back on the left side. But it was like a dull, you know, like a thud.
Okay.
So it was like not a physical, but like this feeling like something had hit the back of me on the left side, yeah?
Okay.
Which is weird. So now, can you imagine, all of these symptoms are completely different in completely different places. So I keep going back to the GP because I said, I want this on record. Because I want it on record that something's not right. So I just kept going. I didn't care. He was looking at me like I was mad. But I said to him, I want it recorded on my notes that I'm telling you that something's wrong. Because I know by now, even my family is starting to doubt, like, what's going on, kind of. They can't, you know, it don't make no sense because I'm hurting. I've got so many different symptoms. How could you put them together? So the dead weight, then I had this, I'd be walking and then I had this dead weight feeling. That's how I was describing it. And how I described it to the doctor was like, someone's throwing some concrete at me and I pick it up. You know, like you're walking and then suddenly it feels really heavy.
You feel heavy. Okay.
Yeah, so by now I'm walking quite laboured as well. So my walking's going all over the place, yeah? Actually, not all over the place. I used to veer to the left. So I noticed, because I think I used to walk with my daughter, and she goes, Mum, you're pushing me into the road, or pushing me. I used to push to the left. You're leaning into me as you're walking. Right. So now I'm not walking straight. So people are noticing it, you know, and my daughter had noticed it, because obviously I was walking with her and she would pick it up. Now, what had happened in that time, because I kept going back to the GP, I was never ill. I was always healthy. I never went to the doctors for anything, really. Yeah. And if I did, something was always wrong. So because my GP knew me well, I said, I want to get referred. I had like private healthcare at my workplace. So I then got referred on Bupa to see a neurologist, yeah? So
can I just ask, at the point when you asked for a referral, what was it that made you feel that you needed to do that?
How I was feeling, it was awful. You know, I knew something was going on with the head because of the feeling. I don't know why I thought a neurologist, but what else could it be? It had to be my head, because that was where all these feelings were coming, you know. I didn't think of anything else, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I think the GP actually said, let me send you to a neurologist, because I was saying I was getting this crawling feeling. So he said, look, we're going to refer you to a neurologist. And I was relieved. I can't remember what month that was, but it was like the end of, no, was it the end? Yeah, it was about November, I think, 2013. So bearing in mind, I've been backwards and forwards non-stop. So I've gone to this private neurologist and, you know, just relieved. He's done an MRI scan on me, on the brain. And then I got called back for the results. When I went back with my older sister. This neurologist said to me, I couldn't see anything on the scan. That's what he said. He said, I couldn't see anything on the MRI scan. He said, I think it's depression. So I looked at him, I said, I have no depression symptoms. I said, I was so angry. I said, what are you talking about? How can I have depression? I don't have any symptoms relating to depression. I was fuming. And I remember my sister was like, because it was a doctor, she's there all being polite. I said, no. I said, no. I said, I'm not accepting that. It's not depression. I said, because you can't work it out, because you don't know what it is, you're telling me it's depression. I said, that's rubbish. I said,
how did that make you feel?
I was fuming. I jumped up. I'm telling you, Mandy, I got up and I said, the only thing that's making me depressed is you. And I walked out and my sister stayed in there. I said, you bet. I was outside by then. So she followed me out. She said, oh, Cheryl, maybe it is. She said, maybe it is depression. I said, no, it's not depression. I was just so fed up by then, because by then I was exhausted, going to places. I was just trying to convince people something was wrong. I'd actually gone also, I think after him, I went to North Mid. Yeah, I went to North Mid as well. Why I went, I don't know. But I went, because I thought, no, I'm going to go to A&E.
Yes.
And they did like blood and urine. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. Again, I got sent home.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I just kept going back to GP. I also went to, at work, you have an occupational health doctor. I went to them as well. And I said, look, I explained what was going on. And I said, look, I've gone to Bupa and the neurologist told me I've got depression. The doctor said to me, he goes to me, well, you've got no more depression than I have. He goes, there's no way you've got depression, just from talking to him. He said, I don't know. He goes, I'm not a specialist. He said, I don't know what's going on, but there's no way you're depressed, which was obvious, yeah? Mm-hmm. But by now, I'll be honest, I was giving up, because I thought, how long is this going to go on for? No one's listening to me. And I was feeling worse and worse and worse. I was still working full time, doing a 10-hour day. No, 12-hour day we did. No, 10 hours, apologies. I'd start 8:30, finish around 6:30. So I'm doing a full day at work and the symptoms are getting worse now, yeah? So I'm feeling worse. I'm noticing I'm walking at work and I remember walking between the desk and literally holding on from side to side. Like I was walking so weakly now, I'm having to hold on to the desk to walk. So it was getting worse, yeah? Now we're sort of going into, I think that was all that's all the symptoms. It's enough, I think. Now we're going into early 2014. So I'm continuing work. I'm determined. Something's going on. I don't know what, yeah? I think by now I started to get some pain as well, but I just kept my mouth shut. They knew at work that I kept going doctors, but that was it. No one knew what was wrong. Yeah. But then I never forget when what happened. Wait there, did I go? Yeah. The last thing that happened to me was my fingers started to move. I can't do it well on this hand because I still can't control it that well. But my fingers on my left hand started doing this, literally this fast, yeah? On their own. So this is why it's an involuntary. It was going like this, twitching. And then, so it started doing that on my left hand. Bearing in mind, I'm still working, I'm still going. I didn't miss a day. I carried on working, just ignoring this thing going on. But then I think the telltale sign was my mouth started to droop. So, like a stroke?
Yes.
Mouth. So that because at work, people started seeing it. And I'll never forget, I had a meeting. So we used to have meetings up on you had to go up to the meeting floor, 5th floor. And I went up to this meeting and I can't remember. My manager called me. So I was going into the meeting. She called me aside. She said, Cheryl, she said, I don't know what is going on with you, but she said, something is definitely going on. And she said, look, she said, the team are noticing. She said, the team have noticed your hand moving and your mouth drooping. She said, I don't know what's going on. She goes, but I suggest you go home, you go to the doctors, you don't come back till you find out what's happening, yeah?
Okay.
So that day I left work. I left, and that was like, I think must have been like February 2013, 14 now. And I'll tell you what, before that, what I did, I'll go back a bit. While I was still at work, one evening, I'll never forget, I felt so rough that day. I worked the whole day, and then I phoned my then husband and I said, listen, come and meet me. I said, I'm going to go to UCLH. I'm going to go to A&E, UCLH, because I knew that was a good hospital. So we went straight from work to UCLH, and they kept me in because the nurse who was taking my details, she goes, what's going on with your hand? I forgot to mention the hand. I was telling her all the symptoms. She goes, what's going on with your hand? I said, I don't know. She said, that's an involuntary movement. I said, I don't know what it is. She goes, something's going on. So they kept me in that night, and they did all these tests on me and stuff, yeah? And then the next day, they said they couldn't find anything, yeah? So I went home. No, they sent me home the next day. What happened was, unfortunately, they gave me like pills to take. I can't remember what tablets, but I'd actually accidentally not read it properly and took too many. So my teeth started chattering. So I was panicking now, thinking it was the illness, but I'd actually taken too many tablets. So I never forget, my brother-in-law, my two sisters, we raced to A&E. We raced back down to UCLH, because now I'm thinking I'm having some sort of seizure because my teeth are going. Yeah. I've never taken too many pills before, I didn't know. Yeah. So by the time I got there, and I remember they had me lying on the bed, and then like the stretcher thing, and then I calmed down and I said, you know what, I think I've taken too many tablets. But nonetheless, UCLH kept me back in again. They took me back in, yeah? Okay. Now the next morning, what happened was another specialist came in. So a UCLH neurologist came in. To this day, I don't know who came in. I tried to find him, but he came into the room. I was in a room on my own, and he made me do the same test everybody else did, you know, like the reflex tests and stuff. Right. I had to do that, walk up and down and everything, yeah? And he said to me, you know what he said? He goes to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I was like, huh? He said, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. He literally more or less said the words, and I remember he said something like, I was taking up hospital bed space unnecessarily because there was nothing wrong. That's what he said. And I said, what? I said to him, you what? I said, listen, you know, I went a bit Tottenham, I must say. I said to him, listen, do you think I'd be wasting my time here if I didn't? I got up, let me tell you, I got up out that bed, I was in a gown. I put my clothes on and he left, yeah? I didn't even know his name. He finished what he said, he left. Yeah. I can't remember what I said to him, but he got out of the room quickly. And then I put my clothes on and I walked out of that room and I said, listen, I went out into the hallway. I said, listen, get the doctors here now because I'm leaving. And they were like, you can't leave. I said, I'm going to discharge. I am leaving. I'm not messing about. I phoned my ex-husband. I said, listen, get here now because I'm leaving this hospital. I'm not staying in there another minute because these people, I was fuming. Yeah, again, angry. And I remember I went out there about 3 times shouting in the passage, in the hallway of the hospital, saying, you better bring the doctor because I don't care. I'm leaving. Whether the doctor comes or not, I'm leaving. And they were like, no, calm down. I'm like, no. Then I went back and I was sitting on the bed, tapping my foot literally in my clothes because I was ready to go. Literally, I was going to walk out. And then the doctor came in, and I'll never forget, the doctor came in. There was about 2 doctors and they had loads of student doctors or nurses with them. There's about 8 people came in my room. And I'm looking like, I thought, God, why are there coming so many of them, you know? I know they have teaching, like training, but there was loads. And the doctor looked at me, she said, well, we can't find anything. We don't know what's going on, but we think something's going on. Now, bear in mind, the neurologist told me nothing. Like, it was weird. But literally 15 minutes later, she walks in and says, we don't know what's going on, but we think something's going on. So she said, and I was like, hey, I don't even know if I said to her, I don't think I even said to her about the neurologist. I didn't remember because I really wanted his name. But anyway, I sat there and she said, well, what we think you should do is we think something's going on, but we don't know what. So she said, I suggest you go back to the neurologist you've seen before on Bupa, or you see our neurologist. So I was like, can I see your neurologist, like the national, please? Yeah, she said the national. And she said, all right, they'll be in touch. I got a phone call pretty quickly after, I think it was about a week, yeah, maybe. and I got an appointment to go in as an outpatient, which is you literally go in and you sit in a chair. And I had an MRI scan, and I explained when I was there, this was February, and I'll never forget, it was February the 28th, 2014, right? So before the outpatient's appointment, I had an appointment with the National Hospital just to go and see the consultant. I sat there and I had a registrar. She was like an Asian lady. So she did all the same tests, like the reflex tests that everybody else. I had to walk up and down. Yeah. And I was there. I remember I had an appointment. I used to go and get my hair done at the back of Topshop to go and get my hair relaxed. I had an appointment because I thought, well, they're going to say the same thing. I'll go and get my hair done after. Do you know what I mean? I thought
Did you think it wasn't going to be anything serious?
I thought they were going to say stress. So I had gone on my own and I'd made a hair appointment. So imagine I've gone up there. The National's at Russell Square. So I'd go back to Oxford Street, go get my hair done, yeah? So I walked in and this Asian lady's doing all the normal tests. The thing is, it was all the same tests, reflex tests, up and down, put your hand up, touch your nose. They made me do all of that. I've always got to do that. I still do it now.
Okay.
Like follow their finger and all of that, yeah? It's like coordination stuff.
Okay.
So she did that same thing. So I'm just sitting there thinking, all right, tapping my fingers. But I noticed she kept going. She went out of the room, she came back, made me do something else. Went out of the room again. When she came back, she had this man with her. And then she went out and he came and sat down and he goes, oh, I'm the senior neurologist. And he introduced himself, yeah? And I was like, oh, hello. He goes, well, my colleague just told me, my registrar, blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, so he then does the same test again. By now I'm thinking, how many times am I going to do these same tests, Okay. So I'm sitting there doing the same test again. And by now, I'm telling you, I was a joker. I was just there joking with him, because that's how I was. I was very witty. I dealt with it with wit a lot of the time. Okay. So I'm making jokes with him. He was really lovely. We're chatting away. And then I sat down. He goes, I think, you definitely haven't got stress or depression. He goes, I think you've got a brain disease called Chorea. He just said it.
Oh, wow.
Imagine it. So I said, what did you say? He said, my mouth dropped open and I said, what? He said, I think you've got a brain disease called Chorea. And I said to him, are you sure? And I'm telling you, he put his head back and roared with laughter.
So when he told you that you had Chorea?
Yeah. Brain disease.
Did you know what Chorea was?
I've never heard of it. And furthermore, all I heard was brain disease. Right. The words I heard was, forget Chorea, because I don't know what that was, but yes. I heard brain disease. I thought this man's got to be joking, because I still look normal apart from these symptoms. And I said to him, are you sure? And I'll never forget, he put his head back, he roared with laughter. It wasn't a funny situation, but... Yeah, but I understand. I was like, questioning him. I said, oh, I'm really sorry. He goes, he was laughing. He goes, in my over 20 odd years of experience as a neurologist, he said, in my opinion, he goes, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure. So I was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't, because then it's like, I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. You're telling this senior neurologist, are you sure?
Yeah, but I think what it may have been is after such a long time of people not knowing, for someone to just come out with it, it's like, why didn't anyone else realise this was going on?
How could he do those? Remember now, all I had was those same external tests.
Yes.
The difference is I'm now at the National Hospital, right, where they have specialists that are neurologists that have seen stuff. Yes. That's the only difference. So he said to me, he just had this, it was awful because I'll never forget, he said to me, started questioning me, asking about my family, asking me if I've got children. He said, because it could be genetic. I was like, what? I was like, now I'm thinking, oh my God, my poor daughter might have this as well. Okay. So I'm just sitting there all on my own now thinking, what the hell? So he's like, I said, listen, I asked him two things. I said, right, tell me two things. I said, am I going to die from this? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said, well, if it's what I think it is, he said it's not fatal. Okay. I said, am I going to end up in a wheelchair? He said, that I can't answer. Can you imagine it? So now I'm thinking, all right, I'm not going to die, but possibly I can end up, because you're thinking the brain. Yeah. Possibly I'm going to end up in a wheelchair. But he said, I can't tell you anything for sure until we test you. So can you imagine it? I'm like, I don't know if I'm dying. I don't know if I'm going to end up disabled. I don't know if I can now give this to my daughter. That's what
and the fact that you didn't have anyone there with you because you wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
Would have been quite scary for you.
Yeah. So I remember I spoke to him. It was all, I can't remember the rest of the conversation, but I just remember I didn't like the fact he was questioning me about my daughter, because I thought, look what I'm going to do to her now. I was blaming myself at that point. And then...
So having said that you blamed yourself, why did you feel that way? Was it something that you did that triggered this?
No.
So why did you feel that, like, guilt?
If it's genetic, I didn't want to be the person. I didn't want to be guilty of passing it on to my daughter. It's not her fault, is it? It wasn't my fault getting it, but as a mother, you protect, don't you?
Yes.
Your natural instinct is to protect. So regardless of how I got it, I just did not want to give it to my daughter. Do you understand? Like, I don't want my daughter to have it. Why should she? I don't mind suffering, but not her. Yeah?
You don't want your daughter to suffer, which
That's
makes
what I
sense.
was thinking,
And the reason why I asked that question is because people would have the same thought process.
Yeah.
If you've got children or someone in your family that you love dearly, if you know that it could be hereditary.
Hereditary,
I'm struggling to say that one.
Don't worry.
It's a different kind of worry.
Honestly, I think at that point I was more worried about her.
Yeah.
Because now I'm thinking, by then I think my daughter was 13. So I'm thinking, oh my God, she might be ill, you know.
Yes.
Honestly, because he said, right, we'll have to get her in to test her. We'll test you first.
Right.
And then we're gonna and he's like asking me, have I got family with this? And I'm like, no. But then I remembered I didn't tell him then, but I have a cousin. I've got 2 cousins with neurological illnesses, which I realised after. So I didn't mention it to him, but he said, well, we're going to get you in for the day and then we'll see what's going on. And I never forget, I went in for that outpatient's appointment and I sat there with my ex-husband and we were there. And as I said, you know, I dealt with things with wit. I never forget, I sat there because I had a gown on and we thought it was very amusing sitting in like an upright chair, but looking like I was lying in a hospital bed. And we sat there giggling and laughing and talking rubbish. And I'll never forget, it wasn't a nurse, but the staff member, I think it was a nurse. No, it wasn't. It was a staff member there, but she told me off. She said, you know, where you are is a serious place, you know, that's what she said. But really, she shouldn't have done that, because if my way of dealing with it was
that's just the way that you were dealing with it.
Yeah, so she told us off for laughing. Like, we weren't laughing loud, but she told us off. I never forget, she said something like you're in a serious place. This thing, you need to be taking this more seriously. Right. You know, at the time I was like, oh, you know, I think I just thought quiet, you know. I wasn't being cheeky or anything. I just went.
No, it's just the way you were dealing with it.
I didn't realise at the time, but it's obviously the way I was dealing with my fear. And, you know, I already knew they thought I had a brain disease. So now we're looking at either they're wrong or they're right. So I'll never forget them. I think it was the next day. It wasn't long for the MRI results. I got a phone call from the Asian lady, the registrar, who I'd seen when I first went in. She goes, oh, Cheryl, I can't remember her name. She goes, anyway, I just want to let you know, you wasn't going, because I think I said to her, I feel like I'm going mad. Nobody believes me. She goes, I just want to let you know, her words were, I just want to let you know you weren't going mad. You were right. She said, so what do you mean? I said, you know what I said? Thank God. I went, oh my God, thank God.
So you said that you had a number of tests. So what were the tests that you had to carry out or have carried out?
No, I think they did it. I think maybe blood test and MRI. That was it. That was it. MRI, blood test, yeah? So I just remember being happy because she confirmed that I was right and I knew I'd been right. No, I said, I'm so glad. I said, I'm not glad I got it, but I said, I'm so glad because I said to her, thank you, someone's listened to me. That's what I remember saying. I said, what have you seen? And she said, I can't discuss it with you.
Right.
But tell me, she said, but something has shown up on the scan. I said, what on my brain? I was questioning and she goes, look, we're going to get you in to talk about it, yeah? And when I went in, they said they can see a grey mass on my brain, yeah? They didn't tell me how big, but they said there's scarring on my brain. They can see it, so they need to get me in. They said, we're going to bring you in for 3 days to the National. Yes. And we're going to do some tests on you. And he said, I think I know what it is, but I don't know what's caused it. So we're going to get you in to work out what's caused it now. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, the 3 days ended up being 2 weeks. They wouldn't let me out. They would not let me go home, and I was so frustrated in the end. But I can't say the National Hospital was absolutely, when I tell you, from the people that brought the tea round, honestly, the staff were amazing. They just were so kind. And I was in a really good place, but I was fed up because all that happened every single day. I had MRI scans, I had blood tests. So they'd come first, take the blood test.
Yeah.
I was being scanned daily, literally. Yeah, MRI scan.
Did you say daily?
Well, yeah, I was like, no, because it wasn't just MRI. So I'd have an MRI, and then I had, while I was in there, I had an MRI. I had a lumbar puncture in my back. Yeah, they done that. Imagine, most people are terrified. I just sat there, and I didn't even feel it. I was so happy because the woman opposite me had a really bad time because the doctor couldn't do the injection in her spine. Right. I didn't even feel mine. I was so happy. So I'm telling you, it was the craziest experience because they did ultrasound on me. They checked my heart. I had every test possible. So I was having MRIs literally. I can't remember if they're every day, but I had loads of them.
So many.
I had MRIs with just normal. I had MRIs with the dye. So I constantly was having cannulas put in me. So much so that it got to a point where my veins went. You know, when you take too much blood.
Yeah.
And I remember it was probably about a week I was in there, and the doctor said, "Oh, it might have been over." I was just fed up. It was a week because I was down in the NHS bit still. So I stayed because I didn't think I was going to be there long. I thought I would just stay in the normal ward.
So at that point, you've gone through numerous tests.
Tons, yeah.
Umpteen tests. You've gone through quite a lot now.
Yeah.
What did you feel about the support that you got from? It could be family, it could be friends, it could be the doctors, the nurses. How did you feel about the support that you were or were not getting?
Well, I would say doctors and nurses. I saw loads of doctors because the consultant said to me that because Chorea is quite rare, that he said to me, at the beginning he said to me, I hope you don't mind, but a lot of doctors want to see you. I then heard they were going to try and fly, a doctor was going to fly in from like Australia because he wanted to meet me because it's that rare. I was like, eh? So I had so many doctors come in, and the doctor said to me, do I mind? I said, no. And I used to have a laugh with them. I think I just dealt with it
humorously,
being witty. And I was like, oh. So when the consultant would ask them questions, and I'd go, well, how did he do? Did he pass? Did he get them all right? So we would laugh. So it was like a joke, you know. I just made it light for myself.
So your overall experience, based on the support that you got, would you say it was good or bad?
At that point, it wasn't bad. My family were fussing, so much so, too much of it. Like one day they turned up at the hospital, and I'm telling you, full force, like I must have had about 15 of them around my bed at once, and it just was too much, you know, like, because I think what was happening was I was going into I was feeling low sometimes mentally.
Right.
So I remember one day, what I would say is support-wise, right, I was on a wing with what was important and what's helped me a lot. We had six beds in a wing, yeah? You know, the hospital wing. Yeah. And we made friends. I remember I was the first person in there, so I picked my bed by the window, and then, you know, slowly as the day went on, the wing filled up. Our 6 women became friends.
That's nice.
So literally, we had such a laugh. And I remember one day,
you were like support for each other.
We were brilliant. The woman next to me just stopped walking one day, so she didn't know why. So she was in a wheelchair. They couldn't work out why. The woman opposite me had lost so much weight, but they didn't know why. So, you know, we were telling our stories, so she was showing me pictures of. So we all had neurological problems, but didn't know why.
With regards to the doctor's knowledge, when you finally knew what the problem or the issue was, the doctor's knowledge, how would you round that up when you were finally, diagnosed with the Chorea?
Well, they were baffled. They were absolutely superb to diagnose it. Yes. The problem they had, why my 3 days ended up in 2 weeks, they couldn't find out why. Right. So I didn't know at the time, but they kept testing. They couldn't find out why I had it. So I didn't know. Apparently they tested me for lupus, because my consultant said to me he thought it was lupus related because I was black. They couldn't find out why I had it. And then they kept saying to me, have I been abroad or had a cold? And I said, I don't remember. I said, no, 2013 I'd gone to Portugal. I said, nowhere. So they said, no, that's not like exotic.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't think I've had a cold, because I just thought I've not been ill.
Right.
And then what I did, I asked my boss to get me the sick records, health records.
Yes.
And when I looked, I was ill for 4 days with a cold in the year before, yeah?
Right.
So 2012, I think.
Okay.
No, 2013, I think, or 12. God, I'm getting confused with my dates.
That's all right. That's okay.
I think it was 2013. I'd had a cold, yeah?
Right.
So it must have been the year before my symptoms started.
Okay.
So what they think happened was, so they then, and up to this day, they'll tell you, they think the disease was caused by the cold. They think I got a cold and had infection.
And a virus.
The infection had, gone into my bloodstream and traveled to my brain. And it's very, very rare. The consultant said to me, he's come across it, something similar, once in 20 years. He hasn't actually come across anyone my age, that has caught chorea the way I have. It's very rare, yeah? So much so, there's no support groups. So when you go back to support, there's no support group for chorea. So it's been a very isolated illness.
Okay, 1 second. How have people treated you? Obviously, leading up to the point of being diagnosed and then being diagnosed, tell us a little bit about how people treated you, because people have to understand that you were going through something big, and that because the lack of knowledge or just not knowing, sometimes people treat you a certain way, and I just want people to understand what you went through, not knowing, and up to the point where you now know.
Okay, well, it was mixed, because going back quickly to when I was in hospital, what I wanted was that love and support from my ex-husband. And I was watching all the other couples that were with somebody. Their partners were coming up like lunchtime, and he was turning up like 7 o'clock in the evening and saying he couldn't stop long. So I was starting to feel a bit, low then. That made me feel low and not really looked after properly. But then again, I covered it. I think what my problem was, why I didn't get as much support as I could have, was because how I masked it. Because I was acting like I'm all right, I literally was getting out the hospital bed. I've got to say this, getting out the hospital bed in the day, putting my clothes on and going shopping at the Brunswick Centre across, and coming back with shopping bags, putting my pajamas back on and getting back into bed. So I was covering it up a bit. I didn't feel physically bad, so I could go. So keep up with it.
How are you coping now is the question.
I think I could kick myself, because at the time they wanted to register me with a disability, but pride, I didn't want it. I said, no, you're not labeling me as disabled, because I just felt if I claim it, I'm going to have it, yeah? So I remember when it was all diagnosed and they said, right, they think I got it from a cold, what they did was, the treatment was, because the consultant was ecstatic, honestly. By then I transferred, because my first week was mad, because I was with those ladies. Yes, it was great support-wise, but it was too noisy. So I moved up private. So I was in a ward on my own, rooming up on my own. He ran into my room. He was ecstatic that he'd found out what was wrong. So what I'd say is, what happened though, I said to him, I'm going to get rid of it. Because he said to me, you're probably this is the best it's going to get. Yeah. So they treated me with steroids, high dosage steroids on a drip for the day, for a few hours, I think. And that was it. And then I was sent home.
Okay.
Yeah? With painkillers. I think I got painkillers at that point. Yeah. And they said, look, that's it. You have to manage the pain. We're going to manage the pain, but that's all we can do. And this is it for now. This is it forever, really. That will be it. Yeah. It's not going to leave you. It won't get worse.
How did that make you feel though?
Determined to get rid of it. So I said to him, it's not going to be with me forever. I said, I'm going to get rid of it. That's what I said. I said, oh no, it won't. I'm going to get rid of it. And that mindset, I don't know, got me through, because
Okay.
I didn't really care about other people supporting me. I was just determined it weren't going to stay. And I remember I kept having to go every month to the National because they kept doing MRIs. And he said to me, I said, what can I do? What else can I do? He said, whatever you're doing, keep going. It's working. Because it was reversing. So now all the symptoms began to reverse, which is a miracle in itself. So imagine they all came and then they all started reversing. So now I would say it's not easy, because what I've realized is the more stress. So now it's 7 years later.
Right.
I would say I'm in more pain at the moment than I was, you know, this is like the pain I was getting at the beginning.
Right.
And I remember a year after, in 2015, I was in St. Lucia and I saw you out there, and I was in a much better place than I am now, physically, yeah? So I know this illness can be a lot more comfortable than it is now, but it depends on, it's your lifestyle. It definitely,
How you cope? Yeah, how you're coping.
it's all about my mind, because now the more I talk, the more my hand moves, which has always been the case.
Yeah.
Things like touch typing, I cannot type anymore because this is my left hand. I can't control it.
Right.
It doesn't want to be controlled. Yeah.
Okay.
But if I try to do things with the left hand, you know, it annoys me. I'll drop things all the time. So because I get impatient, I don't want to use the hand. Do you understand?
Okay.
Like, I tend not to use it. But support-wise, I think my circumstances didn't help, because my ex decided he couldn't cope with the illness and he left. So he left in 2016. My family, unfortunately, we had like a big fallout in Barbados in February 2016. And I'll be honest with you, it's like I never had the illness, because it didn't stop them sort of turning their back, yeah?
Right.
Which is sad.
That support from the family and
he went all at the same time, and then some friends I had went at the same time. So I was left really on my own with my daughter.
Okay.
But thank God for her.
You had your daughter.
Thank God.
Baby Grace, yeah.
She's been my rock. So support-wise, I've felt very lonely with it, I'll be honest.
Okay.
But I'm still going.
Tell me, do you know anyone else who has the same illness?
Not one person. And that's
Not
the
a single
sad thing.
person.
So I can't speak to another Chorea sufferer.
Have you reached out to see whether there is a network of people who suffer with it?
There's none. There's none here. I've looked. There's no support group for Chorea. I've asked over and over. I've asked the consultants. I've told them. I've said, look, this is too much. Because they've actually taken, I've been for counselling. I'm going to have another set, because...
Have you considered possibly setting up a group for it?
Well, they keep telling me to set it up. But I'll be honest with you, I've been going through tons over the last few years. I just haven't been in the place. But I have to start it because no one else has.
Yeah.
I think I don't even know how to start it. I don't. I tried to do it on Facebook once, but yeah, if someone could say to me how you start it up, I probably would just do it. I haven't got the brain space to even.
You know, because it's like it's a lifetime experience that you've been through, you know, and I think there are probably a number of people who are experiencing the same things that you are, and they don't have a network of people that they could talk to and express themselves. And sometimes you just need to be able to conversate with someone who can relate to what you're going through.
What I would say is, I've got a really good friend who had a stroke the same year,
Yes.
and her symptoms are almost identical, seriously. So that was interesting. So I actually went back to my consultant. I said, listen, I've got a friend, she has the same symptoms as me. I said, is this similar to a stroke then? And she said, it was a registrar. She said, it is. She said, stroke is like a burst blood vessel on the brain.
Okay.
It was infection on the brain. That's the only difference.
Right.
So
you will get similar symptoms.
Yeah, but the thing is, if someone has a stroke, everybody gets that, because, you know, the symptoms are normally visible. But because I look quite okay, you know, I'm left with, I'll be honest, I'm very fidgety sometimes. I can't keep still. It's even worse. If I'm tired, it's worse. So
okay, all right.
I cannot keep my body completely still. Really. Hand, even if my body's still, my hand will always be moving, yeah. So the hand is very painful.
Do you find that that's a problem for people around you?
Sometimes I've had I tell you what, my daughter's like, Mum, you got to be careful. She's been like she's my guard. Like when we're walking, she goes, Mum, you just whacked that person. I'm like, did I? I'm not even aware of it.
Oh, wow.
So I'll hit people with my left hand, yeah, because I might hit you. Like, or I know I've walked past somebody, I touched their bum with my left hand because my hand's moved.
It's
and
doing
I'm not,
its own thing.
I mean, it's not, thankfully, if you look at this illness, some people's movements are massive. My movement's quite small. So thank God, because some people's movements are like all down their arm, literally. But mine literally is my hand. It gets a bit busy. But you know what? It's a uniqueness I don't actually mind. Because I said to my daughter, I don't care. She's like, Mum, you can't be like that. You can't just hit people. I said, yeah, but I've got an illness, so.
Not intentional though.
No. But I've got like that, but it's not fair because other people, you know, don't know I've got an illness. Yeah. This woman got really upset, on the train.
Yeah. You know, if there was any advice that you could give to other people, what would it be?
I would definitely say if you have any sort of feelings of not feeling well, don't accept the doctor's opinion because it's the doctor. If you don't feel well, pursue it. You get yourself somewhere that will listen to you. So don't stop. That's the one thing I always said. Yeah. You know, because I don't know what would have happened. I don't know how bad it would have got if I'd have stayed at home and not actually got treated. I'm not sure, because the infection probably would have spread around my brain. Yeah. So if you don't feel well, also don't be too proud, I think, because now I do regret not getting more help at the beginning. Okay. And pride stopped me getting proper support because I said I'm going to do it on my own. That's exactly what I've been left to do it on my own in more ways than one. So, but I do think it's lack of, now I've kind of realised, it's taken me a long time, but now I'm like, it's lack of understanding. People aren't deliberately being cruel, or people are not deliberately not helping or supporting. Yeah. But if you've got an illness that nobody knows what it is, and I mean, even if you go on the internet, it cannot explain, it doesn't explain what I'm actually going through. So you wouldn't know. So you don't understand, whether it's family or friends, they don't get it. Unless you have a proper conversation with me, you're not going to understand. And unfortunately, people didn't really. I don't think many people. It
seems like you're going to have to be that one to actually set that forum up. Because, you know, you've educated me. Yeah. And, you know, you've given me an understanding of what you go through on a day-to-day basis, and you've given me a clearer understanding of what it takes for you to get through a day. A day that is a struggle with pain, with you know, your twitches, with all different symptoms and different things happening that, you know, you don't really have a lot of control over, other than to keep your stress levels down. Yeah. And it was triggered by something as simple as flu symptoms.
It wasn't a flu, it was a cold.
A common cold.
Cold.
So for me, that's in itself is quite worrying, because people don't understand how simple or how easy it is for you to fall ill. Yeah. And not knowingly fall ill, because those are the things that people don't understand about what you're going through. Yeah. And how you're coping and how you're managing things. Mm-hmm. And having had this conversation with you today, it gives people a clearer understanding of what they could go through. Yeah. Because you didn't know this was going to happen. You didn't expect to be going through what you're going through right now. You didn't expect to be experiencing aches and pains on a day-to-day basis. No. So that understanding and just having this conversation with you is quite heart-wrenching, because now I have a clearer understanding of what you've been through. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. And I can't get it like you get it, but I get your struggle. Yeah. And what you're having to go through on a day-to-day basis. And it seems very, very hard. And support seems like something that you desperately need just to get through on a day-to-day basis, because people don't understand. True. If there was any final words that you would like to share with me today and share with the audience, what would they be?
I would probably say, as I said before, don't do it alone. If there's support, get help. And what I will say is I intend to be healed fully, yeah? And I believe through prayer, I definitely will be healed. I believe I will be healed. So my next show will be, I'll be talking about how I've been fully healed and all my symptoms have gone.
Awesome.
So I intend to be 100% healthy. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having you here today. Today's subject was Chorea, which is a brain disease. And my special guest today was Cheryl Devonish. I want to thank you for listening to today's show. Good night and God bless.
Thank you.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 What if we spoke honestly?